Hello and welcome to Model Train Fun. Today we're going to look at the tower layout, and we're going to look at the design of the lowest level with the main station. So the tower layout I presented in layout episode 1, and it consists of 3 layers. The top layers is hills or mountains. The medium layer is a station, kind of out on the country station, not too big a station. And the bottom layer is the main station. The objective of my layout is to experiment with how to make a permanent layout. So I may not ever completely complete this layout with landscaping and everything. For sure it will not become entirely permanent since I live in a hotel room. We are going to look at how did I design the bottom layer, what were my considerations, and what are some of the issues that will arise in the finished layout. So enjoy the video. Let's first have a complete overview of the entire bottom layer of the tower layout. Let's go into 3D mode to see it. So here we have the entire layer. I'm just going to turn it a little around. It's actually made such that you would mainly view it either from this side, perhaps a little crooked like this. The idea is actually not to view it from this side. As you can see, it's less interesting over here, but you can, let's say, look a little from the angle here. And then at the end over here, that is actually up against the wall. Oh, oops. So you see that is really not interesting at all to see from this angle here. If we look at the bottom layer, the main feature here is actually the main train station here, which is a large, I thought of it in the beginning as a terminal station, but it could perhaps also be a through station. And then from the through station, you will start a climb up here, out the layout, and up through this mountain here, and up to the layer above. In addition to that, there's actually a shadow station underneath. So you can see here, there's a shadow station underneath the layout as well, or underneath the main station. If we look at the main station itself, so trains would come in from up here at the top, go around and go into the main station here, where we have the platforms, and then be able to disappear into the shadow station. So if I move this up a little, so it might be easier to see. The idea here is that it's a really big main station. So that's why you see I've depicted some of the platforms here. So the platform up here is platform 9 and 10 for these 2 tracks. The next one is 7 and 8 for this platform. And the idea here is this is the track for platform 6. And then there could be additional platforms outside the layout here. So I'm trying to create the vision that it's perhaps much bigger than it seems like. Now, in order to complete the illusion, I probably should have made some tracks here at the end, or some track work out here to indicate that you can get out this end as well. However, the idea is really to make it look like that. In addition to that, the idea is that you cannot necessarily see the entire train station. So the station, I would like to be able to have very long trains here at the platforms. But it's a very short layout I have. So this is 2 meters or 6.6 feet long. So I cannot really have a long straight train station. So the idea is that you will be able to have a visible area out here, and then it will kind of disappear in here. It will turn and disappear into the shadow station. So when I put the terminal building on here. Let's go into 3D and look at it. So you can see here, if I kind of look at it from this angle, I'll be able to see the platforms outside. The idea is that these are open buildings, so it's basically more like a hall it goes into. So you would be able to look in the end. You would be able to look in from the side here as well. So you can see here, the idea is that I have a hall, but it's kind of cut open such that you can look into the side. So further trying to make the illusion that it's much bigger than it really is. And then in behind, if you go really low, you would be able to see the tracks kind of rounding off here and disappearing. So I will have to create some kind of illusion here such that it's not obvious that things just disappear. Then again, maybe it's okay it disappears in here because you could have a train station like this one here. It's really embedded inside, partially inside a mountain. And then, of course, the tracks would disappear in that way. If we look at how the platforms are made here. So one thing I do not like if you just use the standard C-track geometry and use the turnouts. Then you could easily risk that the distance between the across the platform and between the track is kind of the same. The other thing is that when you use the C-track standard geometry, the tracks are actually pretty far apart. To a certain extent, I guess that's prototypical, but to a certain other extent, I would like to squeeze them a little together because I think it looks nicer. So that's why I here have utilized the curve entrance into the train station, and I have utilized the curved turnout here to try and squeeze the tracks together. So you see the tracks here are closer together than they normally would be on C-track. And in that way, I can actually squeeze more tracks into the same width here of the layout by doing this. Now imagine if I had the standard turnouts. First of all, it would be coming from out here, going straight in and then forking out. I would have something a lot wider. I don't really have room for this here. Why don't I have room? Well, because my layout here is not really that wide. So I have to be able to get here from the end station, turn around and get up into the mountain, or turn around here as well. So I'm basically trying to squeeze everything a little together. So what will be interesting is, though, did I squeeze it too much together? Did I leave enough room such that platforms actually look wide? It's difficult to see here, so I'll have to put some tracks down to see it. With that said, though, I'll have to admit this is an older type train station where you wouldn't have made the, as in the modern era, you actually make the platform very wide so you can have a lot of people on there. So it'll be a very crowded place on here. So as I mentioned earlier, the idea is that I can have very long trains here on the track. And you can see here, if I'm here, I have a train at platform 7 here. You see it can actually stretch all the way out to this turnout, and then it can stretch all the way into the shadow station as well. In this way, I can actually have very, very long trains at the platform or at my train station. So if we look at it here, if I take this one here, which is the longest one, and I look at the length of this section here, the length, it says, is actually 2.5 meters of track here. I'm guessing that's about 7, maybe 7.5 feet. So this actually means I could have very, very, very long trains at the platform. If I go here at the shortest of the long tracks, you can see here I can have 2.3 meters, and then I got a couple of shorter tracks here at platform 9 and 10 that actually disappears into the mountain but does not go into the train station. Now, can I have that long trains? Well, I sincerely doubt it. First of all, it's a compact layout. They have to climb a mountain to get to the layer above, so that will put a limit on the length of trains. If we look here at the entrance to the train station, let me just see if I can show that here. Let me zoom in a little. If you look here at the entrance to the train station, these curved turnouts here are the narrow radius curved turnouts. So it actually means they are R1s. So if I'm coming from the train station here down on platform 6 or 7, I'll have to go through R1 here, so an R1 turnout here and an R1 turnout here. Now the rest of the climb here is at least R2s also going up through the mountain, but there can be a crunch here getting in and out of the station. So this could be an issue I have to look at. The other issue there could be here, now it's not easy to see here in the track drawing software I'm using here. These tracks are actually very, very close together. Are they too close together? Does it not look nice? And so on. So this is something I'll have to figure out. Let's have a little look at the shadow station below the main station. So initially I was thinking about not having one at all because it could be a terminal station and then really you would just have train coming in and going out again. However, this is good for trains that can reverse direction, but how about trains that cannot? So what would be normal trains, passenger trains with passenger cars and a locomotive in front? Then I would have to do a lot of switching. I don't really have the track work for it on the main building or on the main station and so on, so it would become cumbersome. Furthermore, I would like freight trains to be able to drive through the main station as well and disappear. So I need some kind of shadow station. So what I did was up here we see these are the platform tracks that disappears into the shadow station. Then it turns into a shadow station with a couple of tracks here, and then there's another way out of the shadow station. Now here I had some considerations as well, because if we look at this, when I do it like this and I have another entrance, I have to fit room for that in the already crowded space on the main station level. So how do I do that? How do I make it fit? Because I was considering maybe trains can just go down and then they can turn around. But I actually have so little space here that if I have to be able to get around here, across the middle, loop around and over here again. Remember, I can't go under these tracks because they're going down, so there's not space enough. Well, maybe I could have made it a little more deeper or something like that. But all in all, if I try and make this, it will become, first of all, a huge S-curve, which is not always good when you have long trains. And it's very hard to avoid having R1s. Especially if I want more than just one track. So there was really no good option here. So I decided to do this where I got 4 tracks out here. If we go in here and look at it. So here I got the 4 tracks. Oh, oops. I got the 4 tracks here. And if we look at these tracks here, let me just zoom in. You can see here on the outer line, it's actually R4s for the most part. However, the layout is really not wide enough to have only R4s, so there is a couple of R3s in there. The next line is R3s and then R2s, and then I got one here with R1s in here. So the idea is at least the 3 outer ones should be able to have longer trains. And if you look at it here, indeed, I can have some longer trains here. Now, since this is going into the shadow station, you can also see here, if we look at the 3D, you see it's going down, 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 and it's actually not really flat down here till all the way at the end of the curve here. So another consideration could be, well, what are the grades here in the shadow station? Again, if we zoom in a little, we move them over here. Okay, let me just show the grades. Let me see where they are. Here you see the grades. So you see the grade on the outer is 2.3, not too bad. 2.6 for the next one, and 2.9. This may start to get a little critical, although in my mountain I will have a higher grade. So I hope to be able to achieve this. And then in the inner one here, it's 3.2. So there is actually a grade throughout the shadow station. Now, how about the other end of the shadow station? So here, so trains could come down here, and then what? Okay, so I need to make something that can go down. So I made this that goes up to the main level and can participate in the curve, so it gets up. So here I actually get the S curve. I managed to keep it such that there's no R1s in this. However, if we zoom in here, you see there's a very, very steep grade. So this is 5%. There's no way I can imagine my trains being able to climb this grade here. So if you look at it here in 3D, you see it's a rather steep grade here. Let me see. So it's a steep grade coming up here to the main station. Why is that? Well, you can see there's a much longer distance here than there is, the other way around here. Okay, is that good or bad? All right, let's try and look at it. Oh, let me look at it in 3D. Zoom out a little again. So my idea is, if it's a reversible train, it can come into the train station. It can go down into the shadow station. They can park here, and then they can drive out again. So no problem. They don't have to use this steep grade. Now, if I have let's say a freight train that passes through the station, or I have a passenger train with only a locomotive that cannot reverse, then they will have to come down over here and go into the shadow station before they come up to the main station. So that's a compromise I had to do in order to make everything fit. Now, I guess you can never have enough track in a shadow station. So I also made additional track here that are just end tracks, where the first ones are through tracks. There can be some end tracks in here as well. I don't know if I would actually do that. I just put it in the plan because in my mind you can never have too many tracks in a shadow station. So what are the issues with this shadow station? Well, I mentioned the steep incline here. It's actually going down. Now let me try and see if I can show some of the track work above here. Let me just have this one with it. So let's go into 3D. So if we look at this, you're coming down here from the mountain. So the trains are coming down. Remember, I'm right-hand drive, not left-hand. So they come down here. They have to go through a R1 curve here in order to disappear into the mountain to go down. When they go down, they have to, here it becomes really steep. So up here there's decent grades, down here it becomes really steep and goes down. So if you have a long train that basically is a snake all the way through this R1 curve, a snake down through this, will it actually work? I don't know, but maybe that means I'll have to make shorter trains. But at least it's an issue I have to consider. Are there other issues? Yes, there's one more issue. You can just see it here. I ended up putting these tracks very, very close together. Is that okay? So when they're this close together, it's okay on a straight track. But as soon as you get into a curve, especially longer cars or locomotives might swing out a little and might go into it. So you see they're very tight together here on the first piece before they get into the curve. So that could also be an issue. Another issue, and you can kind of get the indication here. So the, well, let me actually just turn on the platform as well here above, then it might be easier to see. So if we look at, now let me turn that off. Here we got the main station. there's not a lot of space here underneath between the main station to the shadow station. There is about, I think, 10 centimeters. Is that enough? Oh, I don't know. Remember, I have to reach, when all of this gets covered, you have to reach through here and all the way in through to these end tracks to actually clean them. Or if a train gets stuck, a locomotive gets stuck because there's not enough power and so on. Is that good enough? Don't know. That could be a reason for not having these stop tracks. And then again, there is the entire issue with this in very tight going here and going down. Maybe it is really a bad idea. Maybe I should go back to something where it just disappears down and try and see if I really can squeeze in at least one loop, at least R2, so you can come up again. However, the benefit of that would be that I would have a lot less track, I would have more accessibility, hopefully. However, the disadvantage is I got a big main station here with only 2 tracks to feed it here, or 1 track to go away and 1 track to feed it. So you will have to have a lot of trains going here in order to make it look busy. If I can have something down here as well ready to go up again, instead of trains just coming here and reversing out, and then the occasional going down and turning around, coming up, it would be better. So if we look at the mountain, I really wanted to do something that could look like a plausible landscape. So I have so little layout room that you have to be careful how you do things, right? I didn't want it just to be a tight helix here that looked like a cylinder. I wanted to do something where you would be able to see the train go by as well. That's why you see after here the train goes into the mountain coming from the train station. It will actually go around and then you will see it coming on top of the train station here, disappearing. It will go up in a tighter loop. You will see it here, unfortunately underneath the line up here, and then it will go around here and in a tighter loop here up to the upper level. The idea is you probably will be able to see, you kind of see here I got a tunnel, so that probably might go into the upper level here. So the idea is to try and make it look natural, although there is a lot of compromises you have to do. I made the compromise that the track will go over the train station, which is probably a little unusual, but you could imagine it. Then you got here where you kind of see the track on top of itself. Why did I do that? You could have covered up here the bottom track so you only would see it up here. However, if you do that, it becomes, you see there's a wall here, and then there's a wall up in here. Oh, by the way, now I remember it. Let me just see. Yeah, you see, it can be hard to see. Here's the track coming up. It actually takes one tight turn first before it takes a long turn over the train station. Why does it do that? To gain the height, basically. So it can be a little difficult to see, but it goes in here, it takes a turn around, and it will actually go inside the mountain at the end of the train station. And this is where I hope the illusion of the roof, you won't be able to see that. It takes a turn and then gets up here, because I want a high train station or a high hall of the train station, so it really is a main. So I need to get it up an extra level. So it takes a tight turn and then a longer one that goes around here. So you see there's kind of a tall wall here, and then if there also would be a tall wall here without being able to see through here, I think it would look really, really weird. So the idea is that I kind of can make some landscape in here and try and make it somewhat look stepwise. So the idea is the mountain kind of goes from the front and to the back and steps higher and higher, and depending on the angle you're having, if you're very low, you'll be able to see more. If you're up high, you'll have to look through the layer above and can't really see it. So you'll probably have some viewing angles that are somewhat similar to this, and that's what you would get. So unfortunately, that's a lot of compromise. If we look at going up here, I would have loved to make at least R3s for trains to go up here, but unfortunately I can't. By the way, here's a tip. I have made sure, since my trains are right-hand drive, they're always on the outside. Because on the outside, you get a lower grade compared to the inside. So the tighter the curve, and you have to go up in the same distance, you will have tighter grades. So I don't know if I can illustrate that here. Maybe I can. Let me just see. Ramp top. So you can see here, if I zoom in here. So here the outer track is 3.6% grade and the inner track is 4.3. And if we look at it in 3D, let me see here, you can actually see they're actually at the same height, so they follow each other, right? So if we zoom in here, you see they're at the same height, so they actually follow each other. It's just a question of, if you take the inner curve, there will be a steeper grade. And you can see it's actually a percentage. So that's why I made my Helix, or climbing the mountain, and actually that's a theme for the entire layout. When you're going up, you want to use the outer track always. So that's also why when you climb the mountain here, you will climb it in this direction, so counterclockwise, because I have right-hand drive, so I would drive out here. If you had left-hand drive, then you would actually climb in a clockwise way instead. So that was the bottom layer of the tower layout and the design of it. As you can see, I'm really struggling with the small space and the desire to have trains that drive for a while, and even long trains. You can already see here on the table before me, I have a mock-up of a Helix. This is the R2 Helix. Look at how much space it takes out of the table. There's not much extra table left. So remember, I'm going to try and make a layout in 2 meters times 1.2 meters, which is about 6.6 feet times 3.9 feet. So I don't have a lot of space available. So I am struggling and battling a little with this. I would wish I had more space. Unfortunately, I haven't. But then again, when I talk to other model railroaders that have big cellars or big lofts and so on, you would always wish for a little extra, right? It's when you make model trains, there's always some compromises you have to make. So the interesting part is, with the compromises I have to make, will it still be an interesting layout to run trains on? Will it still look interesting? Will I have some issues? I talked about several issues that I could foresee, from steep inclines to steep curves. All in all, am I incline in the Helix or in the mountain even too much, and so on. It's all things I have to experiment with and figure out, which, by the way, is also why I made this little mock-up here to try it out as well. So remember, the objective of this is really to experiment with a permanent layout. So I have a little freedom to try and do something that you normally would not do. However, if you do have any ideas, please put them in the comments below. And yes, I know I'm a little crazy trying to make a layout in multiple layers on that little space. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I really hope you enjoy this channel. If you do, please subscribe, hit the little notification bell. If you hit the notification bell, it will actually inform you when I put out new videos. So enjoy, and I hope to see you in the future.